Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about that quirky scab picking habit, how to get kids to stop picking scabs. Is your child constantly picking at their skin and you don't know how to stop it? In this video, we're going to talk about why people pick scabs and what the self-government approach is to stopping that habit. So why do people pick scabs? Is it just a habit, or could there be something more to it? Now, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, because certainly there are many people who pick their scabs just because they don't like the bump on their skin, or maybe because it's satisfying to see how much the skin has healed under the scab. Maybe they just like the thought of picking at something. I have a family member who loves to pick at things. Anything that's up above the surface, they pick at it. In fact, he oftentimes will pick at his scabs, and this is just because he doesn't like the feel of them there. That doesn't mean that there's any underlying thing going on. Just for him, it's satisfying to get back to a clean surface. However, we know that if a child picks at their scabs, then it's going to take even longer to heal. I do know that there are some other reasons that people will start picking at things, and it's important that we at least bring those things up. It could be that the person has some sort of underlying emotional stress or concern, and they're actually picking at things in order to try to relieve some sort of stress or anxiety that they might be experiencing. So keep that in mind, that can be a thing. Oftentimes it's just a habit though. No matter whether there's something underlying or not, it's important for a person to learn how to stop themselves from doing something that's not actually good for them. When we're teaching someone to stop a certain behavior, then we're going to be teaching them the self-government skill of accepting no answers. So these children's books each teach one of the 4 basic skills of self-government. This one teaches following instructions. This one teaches accepting no answers and criticism. Then this one teaches accepting consequences, and this one teaches disagreeing appropriately. So Porter Earns a Quarter is about a little boy who gets a lot of no answers in his life. He loses things, he gets knocked down, he gets told no, but whenever anything doesn't go your way, or if there's ever any boundary line that you shouldn't cross over, that's equivalent to hearing a no answer, meaning no, don't cross over that line. So how do you accept a no answer? You look at the person or the situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, you say okay, or you ask to disagree appropriately, and then you drop the subject. So Porter has to learn how to do that in a lot of different circumstances. What would that look like with scab picking? When a person has a scab, which is essentially a little skin band-aid, right? That's over a wound, that's trying to heal the wound underneath, that's a line they shouldn't cross over. We need to explain that. What is that scab? What is it doing for your skin? Especially if they're little, they may not actually know or understand. And it may even kind of scare them that if they pick it, it starts to bleed again. Now, I know some children develop kind of gross habits of eating scabs, licking blood, that kind of stuff because it tastes salty. I had a friend of mine growing up who would do that. She had scabs on her knees that never got all the way better because she would always just pick them off because she liked the taste of it, which I know sounds really disgusting. But children, they recognize these things and develop a little bit of an attachment to an experience like that. So anyway, we have to describe what's happening under the scab and then how we need to leave it there. So that's a line that we don't cross over, right? Obviously, you can put band-aids over a scab or something like that just so that the person doesn't pick them. But the ideal thing would be to explain that's a no answer. Whenever I think about it, I tell myself, no, I can't cross over that. I can't pick that. even if it feels itchy, which sometimes scabs feel itchy because the skin is healing. And that's another reason why people sometimes go to picking or scratching at their scabs. Once we explain to them what the steps are of accepting a no answer, and we explain that there's a little boundary line that they shouldn't cross over, and that's essentially a no answer, then we can also explain to them that if they choose to cross over that boundary line, then we will give them a correction so that they remember not to do that. Now, you could have them just accept the natural consequence, which is the blood and the pain and all of the stuff, but for some of the children, like this friend of mine, that might be the very reason why they're trying to do it. So if you feel like you need to protect them from getting bloody again, then you might need to actually correct them for not accepting a no answer. You've given them a no answer about picking the scab. If they pick it, they're not dropping the subject. That is the last step to accepting a no answer, and they would need to be corrected for not dropping the subject. What does that correction look like? Well, there are 7 steps that make a really great correction. And when you do a self-government correction, your child knows ahead of time what all of those 7 steps are before you would ever use them in your communication. This also decreases anxiety, which should make it easier for them to accept the corrections when they occur. Now, if my child were being corrected for picking scabs, would the consequence be really severe? No. In our family, we use extra chores most often for negative consequences. And I have a self-government app. It's a teaching self-government app. It's free. It has a job jar on it where I can say, I want the job to take 1 minute or 2 minutes, something really, really fast and simple. And I might just select one of those quick jobs that they could do, like tell me the steps to disagreeing appropriately, or take this piece of paper to the garbage and report back, or take these dishes over to the sink. Something that would be so quick for them. Keep in mind that because it's really just a personal habit training that we're doing, you don't want it to seem like such a big deal. In fact, that brings me to probably the most important part of this video, which is your own tone of calmness. If you are calm when you're doing your parenting, if you're not taking that behavior, even if it's gross, personally, and you can maintain calmness as you're doing the correction, then they have a much greater chance of actually being able to stop themselves and to assess themselves, to reward themselves with praise, or even to self-correct, which is the whole goal of self-government after all. So there are more things that I would love to teach you, especially the steps to corrections and some of those things. And there's a video I recommend you go to next that will help you start to learn some of the other skills of self-government. That video is called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. Click on the link to that video next. I'll see you there.